I want to start with addressing the elephant in the room. This is not going to be a back and forth thing. It's not going to be a tit for tat thing. This is not the district attorney versus the chief of the New Orleans Police Department. This is about the safety of our city. At the end of the day, we're not looking for dialogue between the community or through the cameras. We're looking for a dialogue and action items, things that we can do to make our city safer. It is very unfortunate. I think it was very unnecessary and most absolutely unwarranted for the district attorney to have taken the position that he has taken with the comments that he has made. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go back and forth with him with this and not through the public eyes, through the camera's eyes as well. The district attorney knows that he and I had a meeting last week in this very room that we're standing in right now. So if there are any issues, deficiencies, problems that he had with this department or has with this department, I have with him, we discussed them right here. And I can assure you, nothing that he is saying to you over the last few days have ever been stated to us and my executive team that met with him. We have systems in place. When there are deficiencies and it's mandated by the federal consent decree that we are under, we have systems in place. If there are issues that we need to address, first of all, we embrace the opportunity to learn when we have made a mistake or we could do something differently. That makes us a better public servant. I not once came to any of you and stated anything about the district attorney, and I stand firm on what I have been saying for the last 6 months. We have an issue within our criminal justice system in holding individuals accountable to no fault of any component of this system. COVID has given us unprecedented challenges that we all collectively need to figure out how to overcome them. So finger pointing will not get us anywhere. I don't do that. My mother taught me, if you point a finger at someone, guess what? You have a thumb pointed right back at you. So that would not get us anywhere. We need to sit down and identify actionable items to make our city safer. So yes, hell yes, when I say there's no accountability or there are no consequences to their actions, that is a collective statement that we all need to come together and figure out how to overcome. I'm not going to play this blame game. I'm not going to go back and forth with any component. My tables are right here empty. My seats are empty. We welcome any conversation, just as we had last week, about what can we do better, what can we do differently to make our city safer. And this is prior to the spree of armed robberies that happened this past weekend. So this has been on our radar, and we want good, actionable items to make our city safer. And that is all I'm going to say about this. I'm not, again, going back and forth about this supposed rift, tiff, or whatever between the district attorney's office and the New Orleans Police Department. We have a job, and we need to damn well do it. And that's just what I'm going to say about that. So the reason we are here today is to discuss, as I have been doing for months and months at a time, what is going on with the New Orleans Police Department? What is it that we see? What could we be doing differently? What are our challenges? So as I just said, over the last month or so, you have reported, we have seen an uptick in armed robberies. We have seen an uptick in carjackings. But we have made several arrests throughout these incidents. Just this past weekend, 11 armed robberies as well as carjackings on Saturday. We've identified and arrested 4 individuals that are responsible for what we believe at least 3 of them, but we have more that we must follow up on. We do have to do our due diligence in connecting these individuals to further our investigations. We are partnered up with our federal and state partners. And what I want to do is take this opportunity to thank the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department, because many of them, we have several officers, several detectives that were at home with their families this Saturday, but the city needed help, and they left their families behind. So for someone to ever question their integrity or their character or their will or their commitment to this city, I have a problem with that, because we are the only ones who have been consistent over the last 2 years throughout this COVID pandemic to consistently fight a good fight. We cannot work remotely. We cannot shut down. When you call for police, we must respond. And that is what we are doing every day. So in arresting these 4 individuals, Ivory Grant, Kehad McGee, Cameron Bryant, and Larry Winbush, again, 3 of these subjects, Grant, McGee, and Bryant, were implicated in these incidents that occurred on the 2000 block of Brutus, 2200 block of Audubon, and an incident that occurred at the intersection of Palopolis and Elysian Fields. So again, our detectives are continuing to work diligently to connect them to other robberies. But we do know at this point in time they are still in custody, and we do know at this point in time we have enough evidence to hold them in jail for quite some time. Another incident which we investigated last week were the four individuals that were, four juveniles that escaped from JJIC. I want to commend our VOWS unit. I want to commend our partners at the U.S. Marshals. They worked around the clock for hours, for days, to locate these individuals, and they were immediately apprehended. In addition to one count of felony escape, each of them faced one count of theft of a motor vehicle after their escape. Additionally, one of the juveniles was charged with first-degree robbery, and the three other juveniles were charged with the principal to armed robbery. And this incident, of course, occurred on January 11th in the 3700 block of Hamburg. Again, we believe we have enough evidence to hold these individuals accountable for their actions. Our homicide division has been doing their due diligence as well. 14 homicides so far this year, not including the two we investigated on yesterday. So we're really at about 16. 9 clearances for the year so far this year. So we speak to clearances and what we have been doing with regards to our due diligence. 2021, we had an 8% increase in homicide. We had a 53% solve rate. Our cold case unit solved 17 cold cases in 2021. That is more than 2020, 2019, and 2018 collectively. So those 17 cases, this unit has worked. We revamped our unit and have been working very diligently. Our current solve rate for non-fatal shootings and armed robberies are 21% for non-fatal shootings and armed robberies 42%. For 2021, we had a 34% solve rate for non-fatal shootings and 45% for armed robberies. So we know making arrests like these will only have an impact in reducing violent crime, making our city a little safer. We're bringing solid cases, and we'll continue to do what we believe is our job in bringing solid cases. And we welcome the feedback if there's more evidence to be made or more evidence to be collected or submitted to strengthen that case. But I would like to speak to how do we as police and how to prosecute a mindset where a victim refuses to identify persons that are shot at them. We have to be intelligent. We have to be more innovative in what it is that we are doing in our policing. Researchers, and this, I've said this before, same thing I've been saying for the last 6 months. Everything that I am saying today is not unique to New Orleans alone. This is across the country. Everything that we're seeing here, we're seeing across the country, but I would stand before anyone and say that, hey, we're doing a hell of a lot better job here in New Orleans than we've seen in some other cities across the country. So we're not at the bottom of the totem pole. We're not the little people that people are trying to make us to be. We're not as incompetent as some are trying to say. We stand strong, we stand firm, we know what we are doing, and what we have been looked upon as for the last couple of years through the civil unrest as a result of the murder of George Floyd. We're still looked upon as that leading agency in constitutional policing, that leading agency in reform. And through all of the reforms, through all our constitutional policing, we're still fighting a hell of a fight to make our city safer. So I would say also with our work and what we're doing, we've taken over 2,000 guns off the street last year. And you look at some of the statistics that the ATF has released, the surge in the purchases of firearms in 2020 and 2021, we've seen that increase going from 2020 to 2021 in the number of confiscated, seized weapons over the last couple of years as well. But make no mistake about it, we will continue to do what we need to do, but many are also acknowledging that a short-term solution to much of this violence we face as a society will come from punitive measures. We need to find ways to keep violent offenders behind bars. We need to be innovative in our solutions. We need to have a collective solution, not finger pointing, not tit for tat, not going back and forth. Shaun Ferguson is not like that. And as you probably can see today, the passion within me, I'm very upset because this was not necessary. when we sat in this same room a week ago and talked about what we can do differently as men, as citizens of this city. We all have our own stake into the game, and we need to do that. We need to do our due diligence in ensuring the safety of our city. So I welcome any conversation. I will be in front of the city council tomorrow to speak to what it is that we are doing and what we've seen and the challenges that we face and what could we be doing differently. I mean, there are some, and I sat in this room last week, there are some examples. I would say Devin Cheney is one example of arrests that we've made. Let me tell you about Devin Cheney. Devin Cheney was an individual arrested in 2019 for 2 armed robberies, possession of a firearm as a convicted felon, possession of illegal narcotics. December 13 of 2021, he pled out to a 10-year suspended sentence, 3 years probation. And just last month, he committed 5 more armed robberies, 1 bank and 4 businesses. So that is part of our frustration. And we, as a criminal justice system, have to figure out how do we hold these individuals accountable who are coming back out and doing the same thing again and again and again. Gary, any questions?
Okay. Chief, can you talk a little bit, you said before that you guys are rearresting the same individuals over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And you have said that in some cases it's the same day or on the same shift of that officer. Can you talk about that and how often that happens?
Well, I just mentioned that about Devin Cheney. I cannot give you an example. I don't think I ever mentioned anything about the same day, but I've said that they've been released on the same day, perhaps, but not necessarily arrested on the same day. But it is demoralizing to our officers. It's demoralizing to our citizens that we are finding ourselves in this somewhat of a bubble of turning, just spinning our wheels, more or less. Again, we just have to continue to do our part, which is to make the arrest and follow that case throughout its due process to ensure that this individual is held accountable.
Chief Ferguson, DA Williams mentioned a task force partnership program that you guys have been discussing to tackle serious crimes. What's the latest on that?
So let me speak to this. So there was a serial crime initiative that he presented to my office. The mayor and I signed off on that last year. But there are more components or more partners that are included in this that it is incumbent upon the district attorney's office to get them to sign, because this is an initiative in which he's pushing. But then there's a second agreement that he's asking me to sign that is under review, but I have to really think about the fairness of this. And again, I'm not trying to go tit for tat, but I just think some things are just unfair. You're asking me to pay for 2 attorneys to work in partnership with me, yet I have officers assigned to your office that I'm paying for also. Let's think about the fairness in all of this. We have to be more creative and come to some sort of agreement as to how is this fair to everyone, and not just the agencies involved, but our community. Is this the right way to utilize our resources to pay for someone else's employees as well as our own? And that's a conversation we should be having, and not through the cameras.
Chief, I'm sure it was a private conversation that you had last week, but if you could give any type of idea of what was discussed and why it was such a surprise to you today.
I mean, the discussion, the bottom line is I asked to have a meeting with the district attorney to get clarity on his policy when it comes to plea agreements. We identified some cases in which we had some questions about, and I can say this. We have several liaisons within my office that works with his office when we have some deficiencies, as well as we have officers assigned to his office that can easily communicate if there's some problems. So we want to make sure that we're trying to make an attempt to make sure that we're on the same page with everything that we're doing. If there are deficiencies, we want to be able to have that understanding as to what we can do differently to better serve our community, meaning better presenting a better case to hold these individuals accountable. So that is what that meeting was about. And I really thought we had identified some meaningful, actionable items in which we could work together on. And as I said from day one, it is unfortunate that he has taken this position on my statements that I've been saying for 6 months, and he's taking it personal, and it's not been personally towards him. And I think that was an opportunity. If he had a problem with my statements that he defined as rhetoric, and I feel it's reality, last week was that opportunity to express that, and it did not happen. It was very unfortunate.
Chief, I asked a similar question to the DA, but when you leave here, you leave as a citizen of the city like everyone else. There's so many citizens just walking around afraid to just go about their daily life. I asked them the same thing. How does that land with you?
It's not comfortable. I mean, I'm sure you can see that the black rings underneath my eyes because we're trying to figure out what we can do to make our city safer. But we have to stop working in silos. It would take all of us, every component of the criminal justice system, our faith-based leaders, our business leaders, our communities, our social services agencies and nonprofit organizations across the city. We all, and you, the media, we have to speak to the positive things and stop speaking to negative stories and feeding the negativity into the mindset of our people. We need to give them something positive. We need to give them something of hope, not despair.
Chief, can you talk about the recent interstate shootings yesterday? I mean, on the interstate at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
What's the latest?
It is still, in the very preliminary stages of this investigation. It is heart-wrenching because it's broad daylight. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, kids could be getting out of school, going home. So, I continue to have those conversations with our state partners with regards to what can we do differently along the interstate. And quite frankly, we all are strapped resource-wise. We were able to do Operation Golden Eagle last summer, but that was something that we actually just said, hey, we're going to put forth everything that we can. But it really hampered some of the things that they needed to do elsewhere within the state. It hampered some of the things that we were trying to do elsewhere as well. But it paid dividends at that time. But to answer your question about the interstate, we're just trying to do a due diligence and hopefully trying to get some more visibility up there. License plate readers will be coming soon. The mayor made a $1 million investment into that, so our license plate readers will be coming up, as well as a few other initiatives that I'd rather not speak to publicly, but we have some ideas in which we're going to be doing some things a little bit differently. I think you should have seen that photo of the vehicle of interest, which is a burgundy Volkswagen SUV, in which we're looking for. So if anyone has any information on that, please get that to us through either Homicide at 504-658-5300 or through Crime Stoppers. Still at the very beginning, I won't say Natasha because we're at the very, I've heard several things, but I cannot speak to that until our investigators have confirmed what they can confirm through their investigation.
Do you know? I'm good. Okay. Sure. All right.
Strategies and cooperation, all of that obviously necessary, but police work still takes police officers.
Yes.
How much would increasing budgetary resources for police force to bring more officers into the city help with what we're seeing right now?
Well, I'll say this. We have been fortunate here in the city of New Orleans. Throughout the last couple of years, when you heard the outcries of defund the police and all of this other rhetoric, our mayor and our CAO has been standing with us throughout this entire process. We were the only department in city government that was continuing to hire recruits, continuing to hire officers throughout it all, and we continue to do just so. It's just different now. We have to be innovative in how we are recruiting now. Before George Floyd, we averaged about 5,000 applications a month. We're averaging about 2,500 a month now. So that's a 50% decrease. So we definitely have to look at what it is that we're doing differently and how can we bring, I would say, honor back to this profession. But that would take you as the media to once again start saying, hey, this is an honorable profession. These men and women are doing their damnness and risking their lives every day, leaving their families behind. We need you to start working with us in creating that environment, that mindset of positivity and not negativity.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Very, very